discuss traditional approaches regarding studying political science. Earlier, we have discussed approaches, that what those are, in a specific lecture regarding political science class. So today we are specifically discussing the traditional approaches. So traditional approaches has been derived from these approaches, which we will study in today's lecture. Those would be that we will study traditional approaches are historical approach, a geographical approach, philosophical approach, legal approach, economic approach, psychological approach, and sociological approach, as well as institutional approach. So let's start and let's define that what an approach is. You know that approach, the word approach, appropriate, the word has been taken from it. So the criteria for selecting the problems and collecting the data which are relevant to the inquiry are known as approaches. What an approach is? Simply, it is what it is a criteria for what purpose? For selecting the problems. When you have select a problem, when you and and a hypothesis in your mind or a research question, so you will first of all you will what do? Select and collect the information regarding this. So this is this is scientific one. This is the way here, the approach, the word approach here means scientific one, that research oriented approach. Simply that first you have select a problem or a hypothesis, and then you collect the data, which is relevant to inquiry, which you want to inquire, are known as what? Approaches. So this is the simple one regarding approach. Next, approach dictionary meaning. Dictionary says that an approach is the act of drawing near an object from a given point or direction. So to make visible something which you want to know, and to adopt, what you do, you or we can say that it is a criteria for our perspective adopted by political scientists normally while studying political phenomenon. So for what? So you want to know, you want to explain the political process or the political phenomena or the political events, etc. For that I have written in this bullet that to explain political events or process by including or excluding such data and questions which are not relevant to his perspective or standard. So the point or the area which you want to study, you focused on that study, you draw the you draw your attention on that. So you draw near that object from the given informations to your point of study. Point of study here means that for the analysis purposes of all those political events and the processes. So therefore it is necessary to include in the study only the such problems or the questions or the data which are relevant to criteria of the study. So there are certain many other approaches regarding. So well, let's start from historical approach. All these approaches are we can say the approaches are of different kinds, like which I have mentioned their names in the very first slide, that those are the traditional approaches, various distinctions in many areas. So traditional approach derived from the academic discipline like history, economics, law, sociology, which I have counted you in the very first. So let's start from historical approach. History. So this is what? This is an oldest approach. As oldest, I have written the three different ages or the era for the use of this important approach to draw conclusion. The first, in ancient era, the Greeks, especially the Aristotle, they used it in the ancient time, and then Ibn Khaldun like people used it in Middle Ages, and Machiavelli and Montesquieu like people, they used it in modern times. So this is the importance of the or the use of this important method, sorry, approach to study political institutions or problems So what they focused, it is a, so we know that it is a descriptive approach. They describe they describe the historical origins and the evolutions of the various political institutions and the problems, such as the origins of the state and the development of the suppose parliamentary or the cabinet system, etc., etc. They discussed what they discussed all the institutions, states or the cabinets, so you can write in their names. So they highlight with the help of the historical documents. Normally the researchers in this field they do this. So evolution of institutions explained. So they explained how the institution like a state has been developed, evolved. The cabinet, the cabinet system or the parliamentary system or any of the institution evolved. Like suppose for instance we can say that how the parliamentary or the cabinet system evolved in England. So the growth of the political theory is another interesting problem here. Although every theory is a product of the times and circumstances in which it was expounded, but it has also significance for all times to come. So it is therefore useful to know the conditions and the motives of the historical situations in which it has been produced. So we cannot ignore from its importance to know the historical situation, to know the historical situation. This is important. Now without wasting our time, let's comes to the second one, that is geographical approach. Geography, geography, we have studied geography and geographical approach historically, that what it is, what is the importance of this approach. So it influences all aspects and conditions of human life, social or cultural. It has impact on even social, cultural, economic, religious or political. So all those. Now in the next line, we know that human beliefs, human customs, human clothing, human shelter, architecture, agriculture, industry, and all other aspects of life are influenced by what? Climate, soil, natural resources. So these are what? These are the geographic one. As you know, the physical geography and the human geography. So this is also true of political life and institutions. So it has influence on the political life, even the formation or the evolution of the institutions. So the location, like in detail, geographical conditions, they influences the all the aspects of our life. So next, even political system depends on even what sort of the actions and what sorts of the activities of the people. So climate influences on it. And we can here I have quoted an example of Mackinder's uh, famous heartland theory, in which he quoted that who rules East Europe commands the heartland, and who rules the heartland commands the world Iceland, and who rules the world Iceland commands the world. So you can write all these three lines with you. I'm going to repeat for you people once again. Who rules East Europe commands the heartland. Who rules the heartland commands the world Iceland. Who rules the world Iceland commands the world. So this was, so what it depicts, it predicted the ruler, that the ruler of the Eastern Europe will rule the whole world. You know that the hallmark of is that, and to keep in view all this, that the Nazis, who considered them, the Nazis of Nazis dictator, who considered them the master race in there. So this is not true, but they take the meaning of. So in a nutshell we can say that geographical factors influences of geographical conditions on the, even here in the last bullet, very very important discussion, that this is called geopolitics. What geopolitics means here, or where elsewhere, that influence of geographical conditions on the foreign policy of the state. So it has an impact on the political, or the relations or the power politics of a state in the in international arena. So let not discuss all these things detail here. So the topic is that we would like to discuss the traditional approach. Next one is philosophical one. As you know that philosophical approach in all the areas is very very important. So uh, we can know that we can understand by this that philosophical approach is another. It was applied by Greeks philosopher Plato and Aristotle at that time. Similarly, Al-Farabi and Ibn Sina and Ibn Rushd in the Middle Ages, and Kant and Hegel and Green and Buskanit and Allama Iqbal in the modern time. I have written these for you people here. Medieval Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, and modern like these, and so these based on the idea. So here, based on the ideas of philosophers, what the philosophers are of the view at that time about any of the event, or discuss the good life and the bad life, or the ideal life, ideal or utopian life like Plato, and real life like many of the. So philosophical approach is what it is. It sporters have like ideas, values, and doctrines. It provides base for any best type of political institution, so they have highlighted it. So we can say that political philosophical approach is an important one, because in this approach, this is that this is a normative approach in political science, and the theories and the doctrines of the great philosophers are of the immense important in all the times. So even we cannot ignore their importance in the present time, the philosophical or normative approaches. So nowadays, in the with the advancement of science and technology, or the behavioral approach, this debate has been seriously questioned. So it has certain criticism. Let not discuss all these. Philosophical approach. After that, legal approach. This is another important traditional approach in the studying of to study political science. It is the study of legal and constitutional institutions of the state. So what it began with the study of Roman law at the end of the Middle Ages in the Europe. Its most important contribution are the concept of the what state, the theory of sovereignty, and during the early modern times. So later on, it contributed to the rise of the constitutionalism as an essential basis of the state. Here, the rise of constitutionalism. So it also added to the so it gave uh, important step towards international, to boost, to make the progress, or any move further advancement or improvement in international law, gave a base to it. So suppose Germany basis of the theory of the state based on this legal approach. So dominant, it is a dominant political thought that normally nowadays almost all the states, all the political thoughts have been dominated since long time now. Political science nothing more than the study of the state and the government, law, and administration and international law. So uh, it is more legal and institutional one, and it made political science a real and a legal science. So this is the contribution of legal. Economic approach. By its name, we can understand that economic conditions, that economic conditions influences on political activities, etc. So without it, food, shelter, and food, shelter, and the third one I am forgetting here. Those are very very important for the conditions, or the for the living of any of the or activities, or the relations, or the conditions, as has been it has been means focused by many of the political thinkers since time immemorial, that political events and all those the it is no, that it's the cause of all those political events, and cause revolutions in any of the area like in the state. So its effects are uh, immense one. It brings revolution, I have written. It political troubles and disputes, economic interests. Karl Marx is the chief exponent of it and strongest advocate of it, and he to him the root cause of every activity is matter, and its whole theory revolves around the matter, and even Revolution in Soviet Russia and China are the examples of its practical implication of this important approach. So the scientists that studied it, political science that look it into detail and look into the and explain the causes it in a scientific way. If you studied the teaching, the beliefs and the ideologies and the ideas of Karl Marx, so we'll see that there is a great practical implications of it in the due course of the time. The next one is a psychological approach. It is important one that beginning of 20th century. It began with 20th century, and it is a great value. Its chief exponent was Sigmund Freud. It's a Freud theory of psychoanalysis, and Graham Wallace in 1908 with political science gave it a new cult, and it's the use of quantitative method in the study of political science. You have already studied psychological happenings or psychology in the study, but here you will relate it in political science. So it is fully developed by behavioral sciences, in which we will study in the later. And next, that is the sociological approach. Sociological, and the chief of it was Auguste Comte, mid 19th century France. He developed it, and he did what? He provides sociological or cultural approach to political problems, etc. And both are, we know that that both are closely related, political science and so sociology. The area, the scope of sociology is larger than political science. So sociology influences the study of politics, and it derives data from sociology. So political institutions are affected by the change in sociological values, as you know that all the institutions in the inside the state, they have been affected by it. Sociological one. Political institutions, they have been having a great value. Institutional war. Institutional means it seeks to make political institutions like state. These are institutions, government, parliament, etc. Are the subject matter of the study. So here they studied these institutional. The approach is institutional one, but it has certain drawbacks. We will discuss them little bit. Common to the study of politics. So it has a general sense. Political science is the study of state and government. As we know that the general sense political science is what? It is the study of state and government. But in a narrow sense, organ of the government are studied, like legislature, like judiciary, like organ by organ. So what? It neglects individual, that when you study organ by organ, so you are ignoring the individuals, neglect individuals. One, you are studying in group, like study groups like parliament. So it fails to study controversies and violence like things. So thank you very much. Time was much being consumed. So if you have certain questions, so let me know in comment section.